Wow. Well, I'm glad they resigned, but I have a feeling if they had made their best move, the move that I thought they would make, which is to come back here and protect this pawn, I was going to check here, and then they would get in front of their pawn, and then what? I would check down here, and they would go around to the A file again. I thought we might end up in a repetition. So I think my opponent might have had just slightly too much confidence in my ability to win this position, and I'm strongly tempted to take this position and plug it into the analysis board where you can click play a bot and see if I can win this against a bot, or if the bot can pull out a repetition somehow. I don't know that I could win this. Welcome back. The topic of today's video is, can I win a certain position against a bot? It's a position I had in a game recently and my opponent resigned. It's actually the topic of my previous video, is that game, but in this game, I'm going to see if I can actually win it if they hadn't have resigned. Now, the position is shown on the board here. This is not quite actually the end of the game, but this is where I wanted to start. And I know a bunch of you immediately laughed when you saw the position and realized you're playing with the black pieces and said, oh, of course I could win this position. It's a queen against a pawn. But after a few moves, it looked like I was just going to check, 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 and we might end up in a repetition. Of course, we did the analysis in my previous video. Stockfish said I had a mating sequence. I don't know if I can do it. And I thought there was a button down here at the bottom that said play a practice position against bot, but apparently that's not where you get to that. Maybe I have to go to the analysis board to get to that. Let's click there. Okay. There is a button that says practice versus computer here at the bottom of this one. Okay, well, I want to get back to that position that I was in, so that's frustrating. Let's see. It was right after I promoted, which would be here. And as you can see, Stockfish does say that I have a mating sequence. So I'm going to click practice versus computer, and hopefully that will also fit on the board. It does. I don't want to practice against the maximum 3200 bot just yet. I think we can change the bot. Let's start with a low-rated bot. Oh, why not? Let's start with Oscar. We will choose Oscar. Okay, Oscar, or the 3200 bot, has already made his move. All right, I don't actually remember what I did in the game. I think I checked down here. I know that as long as I keep checking, the pawn can't move forward, so that's what my idea was. I can also, of course, check here. I can check over here on C1. I don't know which one is best, so I'm going to play what I think I remember playing in the game, and then if I remember right, I tried to zigzag closer to the king. Okay, Oscar has already come away from the pawn. That's not what my opponent did, but let's see if I can just work my way closer to the pawn like this. And okay, now I can, well, okay, I'm going to beat Oscar without any trouble. Let's bring the king and try to trap their king back on the back rank. And of course, it looks like we're going to win this, and then that king is just going to run around until we checkmate. All right. In this case, the bot gave me the pawn very quickly, so I'm going to try a higher rated bot. I think if we close that tab, go back to here, I will click practice versus computer, and this time I will switch. Again, I'm not going to play the 3200 just yet. Maybe I will here in a moment. Let's change the bot to the Vinh bot, which I don't always win against. Let's choose that one. Okay, of course, this move has already been made. Let's go ahead and play queen to h7, and we'll do what I did in the game, which I think was zigzagging toward the king. And that also turned out to be very easy because now the pawn can't move forward, and I can just bring my king until I'm able to take that pawn. Like so. And now, of course, I can trap the king on the back rank, and we will bring our king and checkmate. Okay, that turned out to be very easy. My opponent did not abandon the pawn. That's what the difference is. My opponent was rated 1400, so I thought Vinh would give me a little bit more trouble. Let's go to a higher rated bot. That one was 1300. Again, we're going to save maximum 3200 for last. You know what? Let's just jump up here to the creators bots. It says Andrea Botez is 1801 here on this bot. Let's choose that one and see what we can do. I'm going to try the same strategy, which is to zigzag toward that king until it gives up defense of the pawn. Yeah, see, this one's staying very close to the pawn. So this one is playing much more like my opponent did. It's not the exact set of moves that we made. And I'm not sure now, should I bring my king? If I bring my king, is the bot going to advance the pawn forward and then try to hide the king behind it? Or should I check again? Let's check again. And then let's go here, which pins the pawn to the king. Okay, the king has gone up. All right, so I'm going to check here and then get in front of the pawn. Okay, I've got this one too, because I have the king that can be moved like so. And then we take the pawn and trap that king on a side file or back rank, whichever the case may be, and bring our king and checkmate. Okay, Now I am going to jump to the 3200 bot. I'm just going to go ahead and play that one from this position, practice versus computer. Let's see if I can beat the 3200 bot from this position. I'm going to try the same strategy because it seems to be working. Okay, this one moved the pawn immediately. Now I can check again, or since the pawn is pinned, I can bring my king. Let's do that. Okay, then we'll check again, pin the pawn, check again. Okay, and it gave up defense of the pawn. So, king, and we will trap that king back there on a back rank, or side file, as the case may be. Okay, then why was I so unsure against my opponent? Maybe there's a bot that will stay there and defend that pawn like my opponent did, because even that 3200 bot did not do that. Practice versus computer. What bot should I pick here? Let's change the bot. Is there a bot that's stronger than the 3200? Oh, probably not. Who's this guy? I don't know who Crykor is. Top players? Let's try Ding Liren. It's not quite 3200, but I don't think he'll abandon that pawn so quickly, will he? Oh, and I noticed that in this case, maximum 3200 has already made a different move, but I'm going to choose Ding Liren. And in this case, since that move is different, I can't check on h7, but I can get in front already. Right there. And so now the pawn cannot possibly promote. Okay. Well, now I'm a little embarrassed because I had said in my last video that I wasn't sure I could win from that position, but I think it was because of the way that my opponent kept their their king near their pawn. Either way, I'm getting some good practice. I know that one of the ideas here is that in order to win with the queen versus the king, you either have to keep checking, which could possibly result in a repetition that you don't want, and you want to get rid of their pawn, or separate the king from it in some way. But in my case, all I did was get the queen in front of the pawn, and then it can just sit there because they can't dislodge my queen. But in my actual game against a person, I was having trouble doing that, and they just went ahead and resigned. I guess they got tired of it. I'll try one more since this hasn't taken that long, and I'm going to switch the... Oh, see, maximum 300 made yet a different move this time, and this one's going to be really easy. I'm just going to plant it in front of this pawn. Okay, let's see if it'll make a different move if I do that again. Okay, put the king in front of the pawn this time. But I think the answer is still going to be the same. I'm going to bring my queen all the way down. I'll just try this again. But yeah, that's interesting how it makes a different move each time. And again, I just get in front of that pawn. There's nothing that they can do. Okay, I can trap the king on one of the sides fairly easily here. All right, I guess that's the strongest bot they have. I'm going to take that position and try it against a stronger computer on the other side. Okay, I have pulled up this position on the other site. So I'm going to click practice with computer, and then I'll recrop at that point. Oh, it's going to have the eval bar there. Okay. Okay, this time the computer pressed the pawn forward. That is what I think what my opponent did and what the 3200 bot did the first time. Let's recrop this. Okay. I'm going to try my strategy of checking and zigzagging toward the king this way and trying to get in front of the pawn this way, like so. Okay, so it was not difficult to beat this one either, although because Stockfish is running, I think it's slowing us down a little bit, and there I take the pawn and it's over. Okay. So I definitely should not have been worried. Oh, it's thinking. There's probably a way to turn all that off, but I wasn't sure what it was. All right, well, that's what I wanted to know, and in case you weren't sure if you could beat that position either, then maybe this helped you, and the rest of you, again, were probably laughing when you saw the position and said, oh, of course I can win that, but I wasn't sure, and I needed to practice it. Thank you for spending your time here. I'll see you next time.